All right, so we know what Amazon's going to do with Prime Days. With these other retailers, are they able to be competitive, and is that a good thing for their bottom lines and for their revenues to try to compete with Amazon?
Sure. So, Frank, Independence Day's behind us now. We have Prime Day and Liberation Day, take two, ahead of us. And, it's a bit of consumer fatigue, as usually the July 4th weekend is super promotional and everybody's clearing. And Prime Day is, we usually get a break of 2 weeks. We're not getting that break this year. So it's kind of turned into July 4th week. So I think some retailers save some of their promotions for this week rather than push everything out over the weekend. But certainly, the longer the periods go of higher promotions, as you well know, it's a pressure on margins. And you're certainly seeing those that are promoting and those that we've seen over the past year stand down and say, we're going to be full price. We're not getting involved. So that's how we're seeing it here.
All right. So you share with us some of the companies that are doing discounts, I guess kind of competing with Prime Day. Where are you going to see some of the deepest discounts? One of the names that really popped out to me was Lululemon, the level of discounting there. And that's pretty surprising. It's kind of a higher end brand. And normally these kind of brands, they try to avoid these kind of discounts.
Yeah, I think Lulu, among others, is always tries to be full price. But if you look at their clearance racks and you look at the amount of stuff online right now, it is up year over year. It is surprising to go into a Lulu store and see some of the newer drops on promotion, but that is what you've been seeing really over the past 6 weeks. So it's certainly a flag there. And then, you have other brands like Ulta that actually were less promotional over the weekend. So it says a lot about what their business is doing.
All right. I don't know if this is going to make stock investors nervous or consumers happy. Let's show that full screen again with the different brands with their discounts. I'm looking at the Gap, 50% discounts on limited items. Similar story for Levi's. What does this mean for earnings for these companies? The fact that in the middle of the summer, when people are generally shopping, not only for back to school, but just for their personal stuff, that we're seeing discounts like these.
So, Frank, it's interesting because the retailers traditionally, like the Gap, actually did 50% off everything in the past, or 25% off on a weekend like this. If you look at the headline, it says 50% off. But if you click on it, only about 15 to 20% of total items are actually 50% off. So it's very deceiving. So there's actually a lot more work consumers have to do to look behind the headlines this year. Certainly there are others like Ralph and Tapestry, and certainly Williams-Sonoma that are still less promotional. And, some of them are even running low on summer outdoor merchandise. So I think, again, headlines can be deceiving.